Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. Greetings, Yali alumni from Pretoria, South Africa. I'm Haskell, and I am delighted to moderate this keynote session of 10 years of Yali with an impressive panel from Benin, Cameroon, and Namibia. Yali, the young African, it's close to my heart. Just a little bit over 10 years ago, President Obama tasked his foreign policy team to develop a leadership. He saw then what so many of us see now, that the emerging generation of young Africans had the capacity and the tools to change the future of the continent. In 2013, when I was of public diplomacy for Africa at the State Department, President Obama tasked me and others to institutionalize Yali through what we now call the Mandela Washington Fellowship. At first, you know how it would work out. Many of my colleagues doubted that an online action could work in a digitally deprived Africa. We were offering 500 fellowships that first year, where many of my colleagues doubted if we would get 500 out. We got 500 applications. We got a lot more. It was overwhelming. And in fact, we got 50,000 applications, 100 for every one of the fellowships. As I like to point out, admission to Yali is harder to hard. The 10-year journey of Yali has been amazing. Yali has a network composing not just Mandela Washington Fellows, but we raced to create other ways that young Africans, through regional leadership centers and the Yali network, of course. Young African Leaders Initiative, we work with public and private sector and civil society partners across the continent to develop initiatives and economic opportunities to harness the innovation and energy of Africa. Last month, Secretary Blinken, during his virtual, he noted that young people to positions of incredible responsibility, leadership, and innovation in their home countries. And I'm meeting with old African leaders across various sectors: governance, education, science, the arts, and business. Yali example, and through the power of their ideas. That's why we're celebrating 10 years of Yali. But we're also looking ahead. With me today, three alumni who will share the impact of the Yali experience on their lives, their communities, their countries, and beyond. In this session, 10 years of Yali, I'll engage in a 30-minute conversation to set the stage. Then I'll open the floor to questions and answers from the audience for about 20 minutes. Each panelist will keep their answer short, please, so we can learn and share as much as possible. Do let me introduce the Yali panelists that are. First, we have Mr. Utoni, a 2018 Mandela Washington Fellowship alumnus. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the One Economy Foundation, the Deputy Director in the Office of the First Lady of the Republic of Namibia, and the founder of the African Pathfinders Leaders. Welcome, Sam. We also have Fifi Odriagbesi, a Regional Leadership Center, Dakar alumna, a 20 Mandela Washington Fellowship alumna, so 2 times, and also the founder of Via Me Benin. And finally, Johnny Joybert, a 2018 Mandela Washington Fellowship alumnus and the co-founder and chief executive officer of COSTEC, Group Social Innovation Enterprise from Cameroon. Welcome, all of you. Let me start by asking our panelists the first question. How has Yali impacted your life? How are you experienced to bring about positive change in your community, in your country, and in your region? And pose that first question to Sam, Mandela Utoni, who's got the perfect name for a Mandela Fellow. Your parents must have known you were going to make it into the fellowship. But answer that first question.
Thank you very much, Todd, and thank you to the organizers for putting this together. Indeed, I think my parents were indeed predicting my future when they decided to give me Mandela as one of my first names. But when I think of the Mandela Washington Fellowship, it has really been one of the most formative experiences of my life. I think one of the things that I came back with was a greater sense of responsibility and responsibility to contribute towards creating the society that I wanted to see. So a few months after I came back from the fellowship in 2018, I started, as you rightfully said, Todd, the African Pathfinder Leaders Initiative, which is a youth development organization based in Namibia. And our ethos is really to capacitate young people with the skills, the networks, and the experiences that they need to contribute to positive change in their community. And since we started in 2018, we have been able to train over 300 young people across Namibia, entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs alike. And the training really focuses on entrepreneurship, community development, and leadership. And the idea is really to empower young people so that in their little way, in their various corners around the country, they can contribute towards building the Namibia and the Africa that we want to see. And it is really because I have started that organization and led it exceptionally that I was headhunted by the First Lady of the Republic of Namibia to be the CEO of her foundation, which is the One Economy Foundation that she started in 2018. So it is almost a continuation of my journey and of my work in public service. So the Mandela Washington Fellowship has really given me the confidence, the responsibility, but then also the skills and the network that I need to lead an organization of this magnitude now.
Impressive, Sam. Thank you so much for that answer. Let's give Fifansi a chance to answer now.
Good afternoon again to everyone. It's such a privilege for me to speak on this panel at this unique moment we are celebrating the 10 years of Yali. The Yali program has really impacted my life in terms in both personal and professional level, as well as in terms of civic engagement. Yali gave me the skill, the tools, and above all, the dynamic young people network with whom I was able to formalize my association that was existed informally. With those young people, we were able to impact other young people by sharing with them what we received from by participating in the Yali. And VIAMI now has more than 150 registered members and has already impacted more than 20,000 Beninese over the last 3 years. Through the hard work of our valiant volunteers that we had trained in our 4 flagship departments: health, sanitation, environment protection, education, and women's and girls empowerment. So what I can say is Yali gave me the key I was needed to really start and to really impact with my organization. Thank you.
Much. And let's finally go over to Joybert. I be on Joybert.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Ambassador. And awesome. It's such an honor to be here. And it just sounds like yesterday when I heard about Yali for the first time in 2012, I think, when some fellows came to our city to talk about the Mandela Washington Fellowship and the Yali program. And I had the privilege to be a Mandela Washington Fellow in 2018, and I was at Clark Atlanta University, where I did the business and entrepreneurship track. And that was the turning point of my life as a person and for the business that I run. We had incredible faculty of lecturers who did incredible. And the knowledge that I had changed the work that we do in one of our businesses. So CosDev Group is made up of a couple of businesses. And I was going with this new business that we just started. And when we came back, the model changed, how we run the business changed, and everything changed. And today, CosDev Finance provide business financing solutions to SMEs and startups in Cameroon. And so far, we have been able to finance over 500 businesses, and these businesses are able to employ up to 750 people as at January report. And This growth from a team of 1 to 7 people, from financing a few businesses to 100 plus, has been incredible with the knowledge and skills acquired from the program.
I'll tell you, hearing these stories
really gladdens my heart, because this is
an accomplishment we were talking about when we started.
So no, thank you for that. Another question here: what's the most impactful, the most important part of your Yali experience? I know I had the chance to visit some of the institutes, and I was always impressed by
the change and
feel it working together, and how actually so much of the impact came from other participants who were in the institute. But let me post that. The most impactful part of your experience. Sam, do you want to start us off again?
Certainly. So I think 2 things come to mind, and it's a pity I can't narrow it to one, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. I think the first one, like you rightfully said, Todd, is definitely the relationships. I think the relationship that I was able to develop through this fellowship is just incredible. Both my fellow other African young people that went there, but then also the relationships with the American counterparts that we met there. So for example, as a result of the fellowship, I've been able to collaborate with a fellow from South Africa, actually, who has traveled to Namibia twice already. And she comes and she contributes to the trainings that we do for young people annually. We had a colleague from Wagner College in New York travel to Namibia 2 years ago. She was supposed to come in last year, but of course, COVID had different plans. But she was able to come to Namibia and add value to the work that we do with our young people. And when I look at the executive management of my organization, APLI, one of the executive directors there as well is a Mandela Washington Fellow who I met on the fellowship and shares a similar passion for youth development. One of our directors on our board as well is a Mandela Washington Fellow. And through the trainings, we constantly provide opportunities for alumni to come on board and share some of their skills and their expertise. So it's really, my organization feels like such a big collaborative effort of all Mandela Washington Fellows coming together. And I think that speaks to the ethos of the program as well. And I think the second thing that is a highlight for me is really the post-fellowship experience. The support that we've been able to get from the U.S. Embassy in Namibia and the State Department broadly has just been fantastic. So my organization has also been fortunate to benefit from a reciprocal and collaborative grant, which is why the people I've mentioned earlier were able to travel to Namibia. We've been able to get several grants from the U.S. Embassy here in Namibia and also the U.S. mission to the African Union, which has really been a substantial support to the work that we do. But then also the U.S. Embassy here has availed their resources and their staff to us. So if we need a venue to host an event, if we need to bounce off ideas, we know we can go and knock at the embassy's doors at any time. And I think it's this excellent holistic support that makes our programs and our projects be as successful as they are, because it's not simply sending you off to a fellowship and you're on your own when you come back. But even when you come back, there's an array of support, there's an array of people that are waiting to assist you. So I think those are the 2 things for me. It's really the post-fellowship support that we get and the relationships that I've developed on the fellowship.
Much, Sam. I had to remember to unmute myself that time. And let's go over to Dr. Audrey. The most important experience that you had, either at the Regional Leadership Center or at as a fellow. You have to mute yourself, I think. One day we'll be able to talk.
Okay. Thank you. I think Sam raised a very important point, but add to that, my best experience of Yali is the community service we had done when we were doing our Mandela Washington Fellow. The Government Center, the Government Community Center in which I did this service has a vision that perfectly matches the vision I had with Vianney. The sense of giving back to community that is cultivated, in which this sense of giving back to community bring young people very early to invest through their talents, their abilities for their community. This sense of giving back really seduced me. I would like this kind of center to be formed in all the region of my country within a few years. There is one of the most popular quotes of the former president of the United States, John Kennedy, that surely has struck tightly in the mind of all alumni, I'm sure. It says, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So I think it's a really important and really special part of my Yali experience that really touches me.
Nice, and it's a beautiful quote, and I think it inspires a generation of Americans, and I Beninese as well. Now, let me now just go over to Joybert for his thoughts on the important part of his experience.
I think I can break down.
I'm a little worried because the screens have gone black on me, but now I see Joybert. Okay.
I think that I can break down my the most impactful part of my experience into three. The first part is the faculty training experience on campus that we had. As a business trainer and entrepreneur as myself, I was going with this mindset or with this one big question: what does it take to build an incredible company? What are Americans doing different that we cannot do back home here in Africa to build incredible companies? And then, just as if my prayer point was directed to the program, we had to visit incredible companies like IBM, UPS, and these massive companies that we just get to read with these top executives and ask them questions one-on-one, their experiences, their methodologies, their processes. This was the highlight of my program because I want to build an incredible company. I want to help other young Africans across the sub-Saharan to build other incredible companies. And that knowledge alone changed a lot in how we run our businesses and how we work with other young people in our training center that we have, where we provide enterprise development training and skills development. The third part of the whole program, I think, as Sam said, is the connection with other incredible young people across Africa who came for the program. There is this thing I call, you can call the Yali spirit, the Yali connection spirit. You know, when you see somebody and say, hey, I'm a Yali fellow, a Mandela fellow, they just connect with you as if they have known you for ages. You know, you're traveling to a new country, you just reach out to get on contact. Hey, man, I'm coming to your country, will you pick me up? No problem. Why not stop? Don't live in a hotel, come live in my house. You know, it's just super incredible, that love and that support that you get. You just reach out to, that person must not be from your cohort, must not be from the university, but as long as you are in the same group, in the same community of Yali, they will happily connect with you and provide you the support that you need to succeed in whatever you're doing. That is just an incredible support system that we have.
Yeah, I remember traveling to the different institutions and people saying that they thought their identity as an African was so strengthened by being with cohorts from throughout the continent and seeing how much there was in common and how much there was to work together. Question, and thank you.
I'd like a sense
this program, you know, traveling around to the different institutes, I also got to meet with folks at the different universities, and I was struck by, it was such a revelation for, you know, a lot of Americans don't meet Africans, particularly, well, opportunity to meet people from Africa. So I think you guys taught it's a lot about Africa. We benefited tremendously. Do you think that, or why is Yali important to the future of nations? And this time I'll mix it up a bit. I'll start with Joybert again. Why is Yali important to the future of U.S. Africa relations?
I think it's important because, as there's a popular saying that young people are the leaders of tomorrow, although we are already leading today in tremendous ways. And what makes connections human beings? What brings people together are people who understand the same purpose, the same commitment, they have the same goals and responsibilities, and most importantly, they can hold themselves accountable for what they want to achieve. And I strongly believe that that connection has been established through this program, because value is being exchanged. It's not a kind of program that somebody's begging for another person. There's that connection, there's that value, there's that exchange. There is that determination for a common good that will benefit the greater society. The Yali spirit is all about go back and serve, go back and give back, go back and build institutions, structures, and systems that can enable a better society for Africans. So I think this is going to be an incredible relationship for several years to come as far as this collaboration is concerned.
Yeah. More.
Dr. Audrey.
Thank you. It's a very great question. I think Yali is important for three reasons, according to me. The first reason for the young African, as its experience, that offer him the opportunity to acquire knowledge, to develop skills, to impact tremendously his community. Moreover, it allows him to open up to the outside world and to enlarge its network, in which he learns to navigate and operate. At the Africa level, Yali is important for Africa because it connects the next generation of African leaders and therefore offer them a platform to standardize and unite their vision for the Africa's future and dream. We all are aware that unity is strength, and that only this synergy, this conjunction of strength can really bring about a positive change in Africa. For me, Yali is also important for United States of America. I think all alumni are aware that when you invest, you should expect to reap the reward of these efforts. So investing in these young people who are the leaders of Africa of tomorrow, I can say the leader of today's Africa, is the way to sustain diplomacy between the US and our continent. It is an opportunity to put the US at the forefront of relation with Africa, both culturally and economically. I think Yali is really important for America because it's also beneficial for USA that the young Africa get all these abilities to run and to lead their country, because USA plays here the role of the fisherman who teaches to fish to someone who extends his hand to him instead of condemning him to keep his hand outstretched eternally. So we are experiencing through Yali more global world. So invest in Africa futures mean one way to another, invest in the USA future.
Thank you very much, Dr. Audrey. And Sam, on that question, what is the importance of Yali for the U.S. Africa relationship?
I think, Todd, as a seasoned diplomat yourself, you'll agree with me that people-to-people diplomacy is really the future of diplomacy. And that is the central core of what Yali is and what Yali does. I think through traveling to the US, through connecting with the people, through connecting with people from different sectors and different segments of life, we are mutually advancing the agendas of our different countries. And I think that is such a powerful way to go about it. And I think when I look at Yali, I feel we are really crafting the future of diplomacy and cooperation between our two countries. And I think as one of my colleagues, I think Dr. Audrey rightfully mentioned, I think this program puts the United States 10 steps ahead in front of other development partners in terms of investing in African youth, but also in terms of securing what diplomatic relations could be like between the US and Africa. Because if we look at the beneficiaries of this fellowship, where they are today and where they could be in 5-10 years, I mean, a lot of us are already leaders in the different industries that we're in. So when we imagine 5-10 years from now, we can expect some of them to be presidents, ministers, leaders of businesses, serial entrepreneurs, leaders in ICT, health, education. And this is why I'm saying this fellowship puts the US 10 steps ahead, because it's really investing in key people that will have key responsibilities in not only running their governments and their continents well, but then also ensuring that in 5-10 years, we are able to uphold the relationships and the cooperation between our two countries. And I think lastly, it's about innovating, collectively innovating and transforming and creating the future that we want to see. Because, you know, through our experience, we get to see, I guess, a cool idea in the US, for example, and you think, oh, I would like to implement that back home. How would that work, right? And in that way, we kind of craft the solutions that our world needs. But a famous person was quoted saying, you know, there's nothing new under the sun. So I think through this cultural experience and exchange, we are able to be exposed to a lot more, and through that, bring that knowledge home and grow our countries collectively.
That's great. What you said about mutually advantageous, I think it's so true. I think both Africa and the United States have benefited tremendously from this program. I remember the President telling me that he felt like, you know, we have various development programs which cost a lot more than Yali, but he said there's nothing that's going to have the impact that Yali is having in the future among anything else we're doing. The President, and I'm sure he still does. I wonder if he's listening. Let me just go around and ask a final quick question here before we panel to questions and answers from the audience. Sam, what would you were to say to something to a young entrepreneur starting out? What advice would you give them?
So one of the people that I look up to the most, and one of the African people that I look up to the most, is the late great Wangari Mathai. She's a Kenyan environmentalist and the first African woman to win a Nobel Peace Prize. And one of the things that she had said was that you cannot enslave a mind that knows itself, that values itself, that understands itself. And I think that is a central to what I want to drive home, which is that self-knowledge is absolutely key. Whether it's in leadership, whether it's in entrepreneurship, or whether it's in anything that you want to do. I think it starts with knowing yourself, understanding yourself, and leading from that place of self-knowledge, because we cannot expect to lead others if we do not know ourselves and are able to lead ourselves. So I think self-knowledge is absolutely key. And of course, key with self-knowledge is also the issue of integrity, which is such a value which is a value that we can't place a price on. And I think for entrepreneurs and for leaders, that is one of the things that we need to hold dear to our heart, because once we lose that, once we lose integrity, or once we lose people's trust, it's very, very difficult to get that back. And I think on the African continent, we are wrestling with a lot of challenges at the moment. And one of those is corruption, and it's linked to the problem of ethical leadership, but more so integrity. And I think it's important that we raise up a generation of African leaders that understand the value of integrity and what it means for leadership, but broadly what it means for the future of their countries.
Thank you. And Dr. Odry, how can a young African make a difference in his or her community? How can someone who's just starting out, they want to make a difference, what should they be doing?
Thank you. It's a great question. For me, the first thing is that not just think about yourself, but think about the whole community. Because once you are doing something, maybe you can think you are just investing in others, but while investing in others is a way for you to invest in your own self. So for me, the key point is there. What I'm doing, who is benefiting for this? What I'm doing, is it the way I have to do things so that my community, my country can move forward? So it's the key question as a new, we have to be asking ourselves every time when we are pledging or when we are starting to invest in our community. I don't know if I get you. It's okay for me. I cannot.
You're on mute, Ambassador.
Apologize. I didn't unmute myself, so I'll start again. Thank you. Gerbert, I was saying you seem incredibly motivated and hardworking, and these are very hard times we're going through. These masks and everything, you know, this pandemic. How do you keep the motivation going? What is your secret? What can you share with us and share with the audience about the way you keep moving forward?
I think that one of the most important, powerful secrets is having the long lens, because in business and entrepreneurship, it is guaranteed that but there is a mindset that when you have, there's a future that when you see that you want to achieve, as I always say, you begin to eat problems for breakfast. So COVID-19 actually affected us. We had to reduce our staff. We had to move back home. We had to leave from a bigger office space to a smaller office space so that we can be stable and all of that. And despite all of that, I think the incredible thing that we had in mind to lead the team was the kind of future I envisaged that we need to build. And of course, having a community at heart and having a mission is very important. Having a mission is very important. We have this mission that we want to build the largest low-income earners banking institution in sub-Saharan Africa. That was the mission. COVID-19 or not COVID-19, challenges or not, we have to keep having that long lens and keep believing in that mission, that the work that we do has an incredible ripple effect to the immediate community and to the whole nation and the continent at large. And secondly, I believe a lot in skill set, especially in business. It takes more than money and a good idea to remain sustainable in the business we are building. And I encourage young people and myself, let us consistently advance in skill acquisition. Because when you have the right skill and you're competent, challenges will come your way. You will be able to solve them. You'll be able to build resilience around them and remain steadfast and committed to the mission that you have at heart. And lastly, make sure it's always about the next person sitting beside you. Make sure you're serving somebody. Make sure your mission is about servant leadership. It's about making the life of somebody better. It's about making sure that you leave a better community to the next generation than the one that you inherited from your parents. That is what keeps me going.
That's right. And I appreciate you saying all that. So listen, we've started to get some questions from the audience, but we do want to post a question, and you're in the audience. You'll notice on the right side of your screen there, you pose the questions. If you for a specific person or you just want it in general, please indicate that, because obviously have different experiences, and things they can be experts on. I'd ask that your questions be short and also, frankly, that the answers be relatively short so we can get to as many as possible. I do have sort of a general question to start here, and I will ask you all to answer it while we gather more questions. What do you hope Yali will achieve? We've 10 years of Yali, and we've been through 30 years, 20 years from now. What do you think will Yali achieve by then? And I will start with Joybert to.
I think that Yali will achieve one incredible big milestone. The young people that they started training and empowering from 2012 till now 20 years from now, 10 years from now, so they will start setting it into the right offices. There is no doubt that if you look at Africa, you understand that majority of the countries are being led by very old people, and they're not only old and corrupt and all of that. But the incredible news is that we will start setting into these right places. And if we maintain the right momentum of accountability, servant leadership, kindness, humility, serving the people right, that would change the African continent for good. That would be the biggest achievement, where these young people that we have, Yali has invested in them, will start entering. The private sector, these young people, I know good Yali friends who are leading companies that before they went to Yali, maybe they were just a one-man army. Now they have a team of 5, a team of 10. 10 years from now, I will not be surprised if we are having companies recruiting 1,000 young people, recruiting 5,000 young people. That will be an incredible achievement. And the post-Yali support that has been provided by the implementing partners, to the U.S. embassies, to the Yali itself, to make sure that they keep training us, they keep supporting us, they keep providing us what we need to do the right things in the community. That will be incredible. And of course, the people that will still be trained, we still need more young people to go through the program to develop this Yali spirit of service, of excellence, of commitment, of community, of integrity, and holding each other accountable to make sure that we represent this spirit. It will be an incredible result and output that the program will record.
Well, you've got me excited about the future. Let's see if Sam is equally optimistic.
No, you know, I really subscribe to the vision of the African Union, the Agenda 2063, and closely related, of course, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And when I specifically look at Agenda 2063, it is the hope of Africa. It is where we want to be as a continent. And I see Yali members, Yali alumni really driving that agenda at the forefront. And that is, of course, from an intergovernmental level, at the highest level on the continent, which is the African Union, but then also down to a community level. And it speaks to what my brother had said earlier on leadership. I see Yali alumni really driving, being in the driving seat for a lot of these protocols that we have, whether it's the AU Agenda 2063 or the UN Sustainable Development Goals, because it's a fantastic plan, but without great implementers, it will remain a plan. And I think through Yali, we have gotten the exceptional skills to be fantastic implementers. And really just when we look at the issue of leadership as well, like my brother had said, currently the average age of leadership in Africa is 66. The average age of the population is 25. 25. So that is, we have about a 40-year gap between the average age of the population and the average age of leadership. And we have over 60% of young people that are youth, and that is expected to double over the next decade. And I think with this clarity that we have as Yali alumni, with this connections and networks that we have, we can really champion the African resonance, and we can really lead Africa to the place where it can be, to be a global powerhouse. Dare I say even better than the United States, because we do have the potential to do that.
No, I certainly believe that. Dr. Odry, if you want to try to answer.
Yes, thank you. What to say when people already said all you think and all you want to say. But I would like to add to this that I personally already aware that Yali is impacting Africa already more than the number of the alumni, because each alumni, I can see what they are doing in their community at the basic level. So they are also impacting already other generations. So for me, the one thing I can say that I want the Yali to be like in next 10 years is to see the current Yali alumni investing in the program so that others can benefit from it. In 10 years, I'm seeing Yali not just a program financed just by United States, but it's a common and it's a joint program running by Africa and United States because of the commitment of Yali alumni to give back to this program that make them what they are today.
Thank you.
That's great. I have a few more questions. I'm going to just pose these to one person
At a time, because I want to make sure we get as many questions. So I will try to select the right for each person. We got from Amos in Liberia a question, and then I'll pose this for Joybert. What could be the new area of focus that Africa is going to rise in the future? Where do you think that the focus for Africa should be? In what area?
I think that there are actually it cannot just be one, because Africa is growing in several areas right now. And if focus is in a couple of areas, that growth will be very, very sustainable. But I think that one of the most incredible areas where that focus should be in professional education, including education, because we will keep struggling to a certain extent if we keep having young people who don't have the right skills that can make them employable or enable them to build businesses that can be sustainable. So we need to consistently invest in this area to make sure that our young people are skillful, they are competent, and they are resourceful. And we need to start paying attention to diverse industries, from agriculture to healthcare to technology, and processing, for example, is very, very important. COVID-19 taught us a very important lesson. And I hope that the private sector and the government actually saw this important lesson. What if all major countries in the world shut down their borders that we are not able to import? What can we build from homegrown? So we need to start working on seeing how we can start processing. Because if we continuously consume, we will always have issues to build a sustainable economy. So let us start paying extra attention to processing and producing our own stuff. And it will enable us to also be able to collaborate and compete better on a global scale.
No, very good. It's kind of a question, or maybe it's the opposite. The last one was about the opportunities. This one is about the main problem, and I'll give it to Sam. What do you think is the main problem that hinders the development in Africa? And that question is from Sambu Kinta.
So, and we have touched on this a little bit, and I don't want to repeat what I've said, but I think leaving the issue of integrity aside, I think one key problem, I think, when it comes to the development of Africa also comes to our inability to harness the potential that we have. And by that, I mean looking at the young population that we have as Africa, looking at their talents and their potential, and how as African countries and as African leaders, and I say we because we are leaders and we have a role to play in this, how we cannot harness that population. I see absolutely no reason why our brothers and sisters should be dying in the Mediterranean, going to Europe, trying to find better lives, when we have a continent where the rest of the world is coming to for opportunities, whether it's business opportunities or whether it's resources, right? I see no reason why this should exist. As the continent with the most natural resources, I don't understand why we are poor, why our people don't have anything to eat, why we have such a big population that are not able to make ends meet. So I think it goes back to our inability, or perhaps even unwillingness, in certain instances, to harness the potential that we have. And that potential, I'm specifically speaking about our human potential, so our young people, and seeing what skills and investments we need to plow into them so that we can make them productive citizens. But then also looking at our natural resources, because for a lot of African countries, we are busy exporting raw products and importing final products, which cost us 5-10 times more. And I think questions should be, and this goes back to trade and diplomacy, instead of us exporting these resources to other countries to be mined or finalized, how about setting up factories here? And in that way, we harness our resources, we employ our own people, and we craft the potential that is here. So I think there is definitely a more deliberate effort required from our leadership on the continent to see how we can do better by our people, because it is our ultimate responsibility, and nobody's going to do that for us but ourselves. So yeah, we have a large role to play in it, but I think in one sentence, it's really our inability to invest in our potential, whether there is people or whether there is the resources that we have.
Thank you. Listen, I have a question here. How does one get trained by Yali? And I know that all three of you applied to Yali. You did your application for Dr. Audrey, how did you hear about Yali for the first time for someone who was interested in applying to Yali? What was your experience and what was your application like?
I think the first time I heard about Yali through social media, especially through Facebook. One of my friends went to Yali and then they posted what was going on, and I've heard about it. When I came back to my country from my specialization, I applied online again through Facebook for the first cohort of Dakar, Regional Leadership Center Dakar. I applied and I was selected for the first cohort of Regional Leadership Center at Dakar. And what I've experienced there give me a thirsty to have more. So when I get into the network of Yali, I heard that there is more than the Regional Leadership Center, and there is Mandela Washington Fellow, and I can also have the opportunity to apply for this as well. I apply because I get the link through social media. So I think nowadays, and specifically with COVID-19, social media are really important because we have a huge information going from this platform. And of course, the former alumni helped me also to apply. So it's, if someone is asking about Yali, the first thing is to look for the Yali around him so that they can guide him, they can mentor him in applying. And also, even though the person won't be selected to do the in-person fellowship, he can he can link to the Yali network where there is many resources that he can use to empower and to build his skills. So I think the most important platform where we can easily get to Yali is the social media.
A good lead in to my next point. And I see Sam has followed up on that as well. We have a lot of folks who are asking, how can they connect and network with you? So we do have these networking sessions. I'm going to bet that you're all on Facebook. So if people want to network with you and connect with you, is that the best way? Should they search you on Facebook, or do you want to suggest anything else? I'll open the floor to any of you want to answer that question, because I think you have so much to share.
My microphone was mute. Okay. For me, it's Facebook, or maybe through mail or WhatsApp, all the things. But I think Facebook and email is the most reliable platform for me to be joined.
And search your name, I imagine, and find you on Facebook. Sam, is it the same thing, or?
Audrey Agbesi, simple.
Sam, I imagine you're
for
awesome.
me, yeah. So I'm more of a Twitter and LinkedIn person. So yeah, Sam Mandela Utoni on Twitter or LinkedIn. Shoot me a message and then we'll take it from there. And I'm always excited to connect to other young Africans. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And then,
yes, same here, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just the two names, Japhne Joybread, or my website, japhnejoybread.com, and we can connect.
I've covered some of the other questions that people have posted here. Yeah, but it is clear we're having a lot of people reaching out and talking about all of you. I'm wondering, do any of you have a good example of collaboration between yourself and another fellow in a different country where you worked on a project together? Sam, I know you talked about somebody from South Africa coming up and working with you. Maybe Dr. Audrey or Joybert has another example.
Yes, especially when it was time to train my new volunteer. Most of the time I got Yali from other country to have session with them online so that they can share some skill with them. And also when it's come for our volunteer in Vianney to pitch their projects, the project they have to pitch to really assess to be a member. We also used to ask from Yali Network from around the country so that there can be like a jury for them to and mentor them for their program. So yes, I have many examples of working with Yali from Cote d'Ivoire, Dakar, and Ghana and Nigeria.
Very good. Let me just, a couple of things that strike me. We're getting close to the end here, and I don't want to get cut off. So let me, some key takeaways that I'm picking up from the three of you. My sense is, Joybert, I mean, you have really been a sign of perseverance and resilience during a very difficult time. Your motivation is truly inspirational. And I give you credit, and I have no doubt that one day I'm going to be seeing you on the cover of a magazine and with a large company. I don't know. The future of American business is in the hands of people like you. I congratulate you on that. Sam, I've really been struck by the importance. I'm really impressed by the importance that you place on integrity and the need for good governance. And I know it's not always easy. You know, I mean, obviously Namibia has relatively good governance, a good record, but even in the best countries, there are problems. But I think with you, I am waiting for you to declare your candidacy, but maybe I shouldn't say that because I'll get you in trouble. But, we're looking forward to the day that you run for office. And Dr. Audrey, I really enjoyed this. First of all, I will note that at the beginning, you asked me to speak slowly because you were worried that I would speak too quickly. English was perfect the whole way through. So even with just that, I congratulate you on that. For your interactions and your commitment to the community, which is so important, you know, putting the community first really does matter a lot. I do want to thank all of the impressive panelists we've had here today. Dr. Fifonsi Audrey Agbesi from Benin.
Yes.
I'm just thanking you. Dr. Mandela Utoni from Namibia, and I love to say your middle name every time. It makes me smile. Dr. Joybert from Cameroon, and for your observations on the Yali experience. I'll offer just a few words in closing. When Young African Leadership Initiative started just a little bit over 10 years ago, and it started in the head of President Obama, where he looked out at Africa and there was something going on with this younger generation, and it was time to seize that opportunity and make the United States part of it. And so he put it out there, Yali, make it work, and all kinds of people ran around and tried to make his dream a reality. And I think if the president was online today, he would see just how far that dream has gone. It's accomplished an enormous amount. We look at Yali today, there's more than 24,000 Yali alumni who've either been Mandela Washington Fellows or regional graduates from the Regional Leadership Center. I don't know how they count you, Dr. Audrey. You're both. You're a two-timer, so that's particularly impressive. We also have over 700,000 members of the Yali network. And that was a completely organic process. No one ever planned on that. It's just that we had so many applications those first few years. We thought we need to create a way to engage with those people moving forward. And we've seen, you know, Yali alumni, they've answered challenges and needs in their communities and their countries across the continent. This past year, we've seen it in the response to COVID, where across the continent have stepped up, educating people on the importance of climate change, explaining the importance of press freedom, speaking out on social issues. Really, Yali alumni have engaged and made a difference across the board on the. And what I love about Yali, as an ambassador, as a chief of mission, a lot of times we have visitors from overseas, congressmen or whatever, and the best dinner parties, the best receptions I have are the ones where we invite the Yali alumni, and they inspire so much optimism, I think, about the future of the continent. So as we see Yali turn 15 or 20, we'll see the next generation lead. I'm not sure we have to wait that long, and I'm looking for Sam's candidacy. So forward here, we're going to have a 10-minute break before the next session start. I guess a little bit more than 10 minutes at 11:20 Eastern Standard Time. But these sessions, they're concurrent breakout sessions, will cover leveraging trade to advance U.S. and African business goals, civil society's role in mitigating climate change, and youth conflict management and peace building in Africa. And I really want to thank you for joining. It's been an inspiration being part of this program these past years. It's one I intend to keep working on here in South Africa now. And congratulations, and thank you so much for your participation today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Haskell, Sam, Audrey, and Joybert. Just an absolutely fantastic session. You have really added meat to the celebration of Yali, just really touching on all that you are doing across the continent to help transform and shape and drive Africa in the direction that your generation wants to see. And thank you so much, Ambassador Haskell, for all your work as well. We know you've been with Yali right from the get-go, so we really, really appreciate that. I just want to, before we move on to the sessions that Ambassador Haskell talked about, I want to close off with a comment that came in from Kraus Mulaya. We had lots of engagement from across the continent. So I'm just going to read Kraus, which really reinforces what Ambassador Haskell was talking about. Kraus says, Yali is all about a transformational leadership. Africa's future leadership is being shaped via Yali, and so Yali is and will remain a great legacy from the 44th President of the United States, Barack H. Obama, and the American people as a whole. What a gift from the American people. I am a positive consequence of that change. To date, I am not the one people, youths, must follow, but rather the one they want to follow. I shared my Yali dollar and have transformed many around me. Great to celebrate Yali 10 together. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kraus, and everybody else who's joined in this discussion. So again, Ambassador Haskell, Sam, Audrey, and Joybert, thank you. Onward to the next session.
Thank you, Monday. Great to see you again for all these years.
Thank you.
Take care.